And it is officially time to start. It's 7:30 p.m. on Monday the 29th, Monday bank holiday, end of August 2023. So if you're watching this on replay, you know when this was filmed. So 28th, thank you Janie. So 28th of August 2023. So welcome everyone, welcome to Marylebone. We are actually closer to Marble Arch at the moment. So today we'll have a little walk in the area. I choose to start on this side of Marylebone because there's a high concentration of murders. So let's get started. I'm gonna flip this camera around. So we are here by Portman Square. I could not start the tour in the square because it's private. It belongs to, it's open to people living on the square. That's the case with quite a few of those little squares in the area because we are on the posher side of town. Now there was a double murder on the square as well. You know, back in the days when you had servants, you did not really want them to be too dissatisfied, let's say, because the servants, they would know some valuable information about your home and what was inside and where were the windows, the exits, and that could be a problem, and that's what happened here. I'm not sure which side of the square it was because the building might have changed. In 1821, there was a lady that lived here, a widow called Mrs. Lassell. And she had a lady called Jane Robinson that worked for her as a cleaner every so often. And for some reason, Jane was not really happy with her employer anymore. And she decided to tell some friends of her, two robbers, that there was quite a few goods to be stolen in the building. So one night, she actually introduced one of the brothers in the building. She hid him in there. And then they waited for Mrs. Lassell and the maid to go to bed. And about 2 a.m., the brother opened the door for the other brother. They got in. Jane and another lady, Mary Brown, they were acting as lookout outside. And then the brother, not only did they steal everything, but they actually killed the widow as well as the maid. One was strangled, one had her throat cut. And luckily Jane did get caught eventually because she was trying to sell the goods that were stolen. And when she got caught, she snitched on everybody else. So they were all hanged, I suppose. So yeah, horrible, quite a horrible case. And we've got quite a few murders today. Straight ahead in the middle of the screen there, that used to be the Spencer Hotel. And in 1922, there was also a horrible murder here. And that's a very sad story because the killer was very young. In some of my tours, we might have... Did she, Trista? I don't think Jen would have. No, I think the brothers did whatever they wanted. I don't think Jen intended for them to die. She just wanted to get the stuff. But who knows? I'm not, not exactly a lovely girl. So anyway, in the hotel there, in 1922, there was a lady that lived up there, Lady White. And in the basement, there was a young boy, 18 years old, a poor boy. He worked in there. His name was Henry Jacobi. And one night, Henry decided to go and rob Lady White upstairs. So in the middle of the night, he went up and he took a hammer from a workman's handbag or bag. And he went up with his hammer with no intention to kill the lady. He wanted to rob her, but he woke her up. So he smashed her head with a hammer. And he went back downstairs. He lived downstairs. He walked down there. And he cleaned the hammer and he put it back in the bag, the worker's bag, put himself to bed, In the morning, they found Lady White. She was actually still dying, very sadly. And Henry kind of drew attention to himself because he claimed that he had heard, and he didn't actually steal anything. He claimed that he had heard some voices through the night. So that's what drew attention into him. And eventually they found out in his bedroom a dirty handkerchief that was blood stained. He fairly quickly confessed, and so the murder itself is horrible. But what happened next, you know, he was of course tried. Quite a few people actually wanted mercy for the boy because he was so young. He was 18 and he really came across as very, very immature. But you know, it was murder, and there was another teenager that had killed a lady in Hammersmith at the time that was sent to Broadmoor. And I'm smiling because I need to be careful when I said sent to Broadmoor. I mean Broadmoor, it's a prison for people with mental health issues. Because I was watching something on YouTube the other day, completely different case. And you know, on YouTube you can have the subtitles if you wish. It's a computer. It's not me writing them. And they said in the documentary, the guilty man was sent to Broadmoor, and the subtitle went, he was sent abroad more, like if you commit a crime in the UK and they send you on a holiday more often. So I guess I should explain every time I said Broadmoor. So anyway, there was another boy that was sent to Broadmoor asylum prison. And they kind of hoped for the boy to be the same, but the boy was not insane. So they actually sent him to Pentonville to be hanged. And at Pentonville prison, the governor, he even took a liking into the young boy. And apparently a few hours before his execution, he was playing cricket, like he had no care, you know, like nothing was happening. And when he was going to be hanged, apparently, well, take that with a pinch of salt because I only found that in one of my sources, but apparently he told the hangman, I wish I could buy all the ropes in the world, because then you'd have to use a rubber one, and then I could bounce back and say hello. And of course the hangman was ever so sorry because that was such a childish thing to say, but he had to hang him anyway. So the boy lost his life, 18 years old. And anyway, this beautiful building here, it's known as Home House. It's from the Countess of Home. I don't have much to say about her. She was a slave owner in Jamaica, but a beautiful building. And there was also a spy that lived in there in the 60s. He actually confessed to be spying for the Russian. So he was spared imprisonment. Anthony Blunt, his name was. He lived in some apartment up there. Anyway, let's cross over here to go down this beautiful street. So yeah, as you can see, it's quite a posh part of town, and you guys would never guess who used to live at the end of the street straight ahead. Any guesses? If you go straight down, there's a little place called Evelyn Court, and there's someone you might have heard of that lived at the end of the street. Hi, Anjay. Any guesses? I'll give you a clue. It's a tiny, fairly mediocre YouTuber. Elton John. Nope. It's me. In 2009, I lived down there. So at the time, no one believed me. It's not that they didn't believe me, but every time people asked me, where do you live? And I was like, Marble Arch. They were like, you? How can you afford to live in Marble Arch? I was living I was sharing a room with a girl I didn't even like. It was 5 of us in a tiny 2-bedroom flat. I was paying at the time $360 a month to share a tiny bedroom. And that was, I've been flat sharing for the last 16 years, really. But those guys, I'm sorry, but they were the worst flatmates I ever had. I've lived with quite a few nutcases, but those guys, they were so immature. And I was myself 21, but not that bad. To give you an idea of the type of stuff they would do, they'd get drunk, and for example, one of them, he'd be cooking in the kitchen. We were living on the 6th floor. It's a busy road down there. And he would be cooking pasta, and then you know the metal stuff to drain the pasta, suddenly out of nowhere he would dump it through the window with the pasta still inside. But on the 6th floor, that could kill somebody down there. And when I moved, I didn't stay long. I must have stayed like 4 or 5 months. I had to move one day because I came home on a Tuesday. It was always on a Tuesday because they used to go to a party in Piccadilly that was on a Monday night. And so I didn't come home. I woke up first, and I was gonna go to take a shower to go to work. And I went into the bathroom. We had the bathtub, and the bathtub was full of white, I don't even know white thing. It was full, it was blocked with white, kind of like a white foam. At the time, I kind of believed it was maybe toilet roll that had been soaking all night in a bathtub. And I touched it, and it was just a weird thing. And I was like, you know what? No shower today. I went straight to work. And when I came back, I realized what had happened. I came back, and because in the morning I didn't go in the living room because there were people sleeping on the sofa and stuff. And when I opened that door, there were 7 fire extinguishers in my flat. 7. They had literally got drunk, got all over the building, took all the fire extinguishers in the building, had a fight with the foam, and then kept them in there. And I was like, you know what, that's too much for me. So you go and put them back. Expect the one that is now emptied. You keep that one, and then you do whatever you do, you know. And they were like, no, we can put them back now. I was like, you crazy? If there's a fire now in that building, we would go down for manslaughter, you know. And that's when I've decided to move because, that was too much. And I was young myself, but not that silly. Yeah, and getting drunk is not an excuse. It's just like, what, you know? And they used to do food fights as well. I would feed them because I used to work in a cafe at the time. So I've always been like fighting food waste. I don't like food waste. And I would bring them a lot of food from the cafe. And then they'll have food fights. Like I'd come home one night, there was raspberry yogurt on the walls in the living room. And I smelled it, and I was like, this smells like the raspberry yogurt in my cafe. And I was like, not only do I bring them free food, but they use it to do food fights. So yeah, I had to leave. That was not a big loss. I didn't really. It's a bit too central, so it was a bit. It's a bit busy to go to a shop or anything. So yeah, that's when I've moved. You have a flatmate. Yeah, well, yeah. In London, we kind of have to do flat sharing because it's difficult really to be able to afford anything. What age were they? Oh, they were like 19, 20. They were most of them a year or two younger than me. So yeah. Anyway, this beautiful building here, I think it's on it's the ground floor, on the first floor. We have a property here for sale. Let me tell you, so it's a to rent, not for sale. It's a 4-bedroom, to rent, the one just here behind the car. How much would you pay monthly for this lovely, apartment, 4-bedroom? Any guesses? I'm looking for a monthly rent. To rent, Jenny, to rent, not to buy. I'll show you the photos. Up. 2,000 says Tony, 250 Laurie, you're the closest so far. $3,000 says Patricia, it's a bit more. A bit more. 2,800 says Sandrine, a bit more. Down, oh, you know what, you're quite spot on. Let me show you. I think down you're the closest so far. 7,583 per month. Yeah, Laurie, well done. So yeah, quite an expensive one. Well, it's a 4-bedroom, so that's quite big, but yeah. Anyway, let me cross over here. And guess what? There's another murder here. In 1942, in the building there straight ahead, there was a young man. No, I don't know if he was young actually. There was a man that, well, he stabbed his mother. His name was Derek Lee Smith, in flat 112 up there. It's you know, when you kill your mother, it's called matricide, like a regicide or like a homicide. And usually when people commit matricide, it's because they are psychopaths, you know. And apparently that young man, I don't know if it's possible or if he just had some amazing lawyers, but they managed to put it down under, well, he suffered from hypoglycemia, so low sugar blood levels, and apparently that put him in states of confusion. So that's what the lawyers came up with at the end, that it's all because of his blood sugar levels. Interesting theory, but yeah. You bet he's suffering from matricide. That's a good one. Let's check E2R, Elizabeth Secunda Regina. So this little letterbox here is not that old. It dates back to the time of Queen Elizabeth II. So just so you know, we've got another property here to my left in the Little Mews. I'll try to be quite discreet, because otherwise I know there's some people that are going to come out and help me. There's a gentleman the other day when I came to check the properties. He was like, because I probably looked confused, but I wasn't. And he was like, oh, can I help? Where do you want to go? And I didn't want to tell him that I wanted to come and film his lovely Little Mews. So yeah, I'm going to try to be discreet. So I'm guessing this used to be in Mayfair as well. So bedrooms, let me see. Yes, we're looking for a 3-bedroom in this lovely Little Mews, a 3-bedroom to rent. It's the blue one, just there in the middle, the blue one. Let me show you the photos. How much would you pay monthly for a 3-bedroom Mews? So 3-bedroom to rent. We're looking for a monthly rent. So that's the one. They have a rooftop at the top, so that's quite interesting. The chat is gone. 6,000 says William. Tariq, you know what? You spot on. Well done. Tariq has got it already. Is it buffering? Oh. Okay, I'll try to move fairly quickly. Anyway, Tariq has got it. So there we go, 5,000. Well done, Tariq. You were literally spot on. Oh, it's back. Okay, good. So just so you know, I'm going to have to go back exactly the same way as I came. So if it starts buffering again, well, you know what? I'm going to try not to say anything interesting as I go through, because it's probably because it's a skinny street. So I'm going to try not to say anything interesting for the next minute at least. Yeah, no, Laurie, it doesn't seem much more expensive. And you know what? I think it's probably rented now, because when I came to check the other day, I could hear the estate agent. They left the door open, and I could hear the estate agent talking to customers. So it might be taken now. Ronilyn, yeah, you're not far. 5,000 it was. So that's the moment when it might go buffering. Hopefully it'll be much better as soon as I get out of those mews. Cool. Are we all good for the a very stable rent? Are we all good with the sound now? Is it buffering, or is it better now? Let me know before I start the next interesting story, because I don't want you to miss the beginning. All good, perfect. So walking up that very avenue, we are in 1942. There's a lady that would have been walking that avenue at night. Night in 1952 would have been very dark, because we were through the blackouts. You know, with the Blitz, they did not want the Germans to be able to target their bombs. So what they did is they used to turn all the lights off at night. So even your windows, you wouldn't want any lights in your windows. So that was to avoid the bombings, but that also created some very dark streets. That was quite convenient for murderers or anyone that had some dodgy business to do, because you know, the police forces were stretched, because they had lost a lot of men to go into the fighting forces, you know, that's the time where a horrible serial killer started here. So that very night, we had a lady called Evelyn Hamilton. It was a Sunday night. She was here only for the night. Evelyn, she was originally from Newcastle, well, a small town next to Newcastle. She was the daughter of a coal miner. And at 16, she graduated in pharmacy. Those kind of jobs had just fairly recently been opened to ladies. And you know, this generation of ladies, just before the Second World War, or through the Second World War, they knew that it was quite likely that they would not marry, because at the time there was more ladies than men, because a lot of men had lost their life through the First World War, and of course at the beginning of the century a lot of men had emigrated to Australia or abroad. And so for this generation of girls, it was quite a good idea to find yourself a qualified job. So she became a pharmacist, but it was still a male-dominated ward. She actually lost her job next to Newcastle because she rebelled against the employer. And then she took another job in a pharmacy outside of London, in Hornchurch, East London. And that job failed as well, because she had, the shop closed. So she actually found a new job in Grimsby, a port on the north. So she was moving home. She was going back up north. She took a train to Baker Street, and she was going to spend the night here in a hotel, just minutes away from here. And that night she wanted food, so she went down to Marble Arch, close to where we started, to go to a 24 hours restaurant. She had some beetroots and she ate alone. She was a very lonely lady anyway. Some modern people actually try to describe her as potentially autistic because they said she was a little bit socially awkward, or a bit different at least. We don't know that for sure. Anyway, that night she came back from the restaurant, walking back towards the hotel. It's probably at that point that she was spotted, or maybe in the restaurant, who knows, by Gordon Cummings. You might have heard of him, the Blackout Ripper. So very sadly, just there at the end of the street on Montague Place, there was a bomb shelter. Her body was found in the bomb shelter, strangled. She wouldn't have gone down on her own because someone probably deceived her and took her down there, or forced her down there. We don't know. Her bag had been stolen, and there was a lot of money into that bag because she was moving home, so she was bringing all her saving back. Not home, she was going to Grimsby. But yeah, very sad, and that was only the beginning of a week of horror. The next day, Monday, another Evelyn Otley, a sex worker, an actor, was found. Yes, exactly, Kurt. That's where John Lennon lived. We have a little blue plaque here. So, yeah. And the next day it was in a flat closer to Soho that Evelyn was found. Evelyn, she was not actually found. They were not necessarily found in the right order. I'm telling you the order of the murders. Evelyn, she had been brutally attacked and mutilated. She had been mutilated with a can opener. And there was a fingerprint on that can opener. Unfortunately, it did not match with anything in the police files at the time, but that was already a start. The next day, Pearl, she was called Pearl, but her name was Margaret Lowe. She was found in her flat in Marble Arch as well. Oh, not in Marble Arch, in the Marylebone on the other side. Again, a sex worker, and she had been brutally attacked and mutilated. The next day, Wednesday, Doris Rouanet, again brutally attacked, strangled first, but mutilated as well. And so that was the Wednesday. The next day, the Thursday, was quiet, or it seemed to be at least. Did the killer cover his tracks a bit more? Did he not do any deeds? Who knows? And the Friday that was a double attack. The first one was Greta Hayward in Piccadilly. Greta was not a sex worker. She was waiting for her boyfriend actually, and she was approached by this man with a RAF uniform. And she somehow agreed, well, he showed her a lot of money, and she somehow agreed to go for a drink with him. And eventually he took her into a dark corner, he pushed her against the wall, and he tried to strangle her. But she was strong, and she kicked him in the balls, and she pushed him, and he ran away. But then he struck again. He approached another lady, Catherine Mulhaki. She took him to her apartment. And, well, the next thing you know, he's attacking Catherine as well. And Catherine, she resisted. She kicked him, she pushed him, and she screamed that people got alerted. So eventually he gave up as well. Oh yeah, evil man, absolutely, Jenny. And he ran away, and in a desperate hope to buy her silence, he dropped a £5 note. But that did not work, obviously. She told the police and everything. And on his way, he dropped his air mask, his RAF air mask. And that was his big mistake, because they were actually numbered. Then he went to a pub where he stole another air mask from some other RAF soldier, but he got arrested the next day. That is St. Mary's bell, by the way, that you can hear. So yeah, horrible killer. Sadly, the blackouts were the opportunity for quite a few killers. We also had a gentleman that attacked his wife, and you could, at the time, if you killed somebody, it was fairly easy to put their body into a bomb site, and then they would look like a victim. It was crazy times, and people knew that they might not survive the Blitz, so they were doing crazy things. So yeah, that's the Blackout Ripper for you. And so his first victim. Well, Evelyn was probably not actually his first victim. There's another two that were suspected earlier elsewhere, but she's the first one of the known victims for sure. And let me cross over. And talking about murder, we've got some more. Right here, there's not much to see today. It's probably a completely different building. But at the beginning of the 19th century, there was a gentleman that used this location here, 91 Crayford Street. His name was John Towell. Some of you might have heard of John Towell. He's the first killer to be ever convicted because of telecommunications. He was a Quaker, well, or wanted to be at least. He had actually been banned from the Quaker Friendly Society or whatever it's called, because he had been convicted of forgery. He had forged a fake note, and he was actually sentenced to hang. But the Quakers, they were against capital punishment, and they kind of saved him. He was sent to Australia instead. And the Quakers, they were actually quite modern in terms of their way of thinking. They were against slavery, against death penalty. And I think I've missed a joke. What did Ronnie say? Oh, you imagine a gang with cans opener. Yeah, well, it can be painful. And so John was he was actually quite smart in a way. He completely fabricated an alibi for himself. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you why I'm talking about John now. The building there, that's where he used to hide his mistress, because the Quakers, of course, they couldn't have a mistress. So his mistress, Sarah, she pretended to be dead, at least to her family, and he was hiding her in different locations, and one of them was there at number 91. And then eventually he moved her to Slough, outside of London on the west side. And one day, he went into a coffee house in the city of London. At 4 p.m. he was there drinking a coffee, and he purposely left his coat behind. And then he jumped on a train to Slough to see his mistress, Sarah Hartley, and he poisoned her. And then he left. And so poison, it doesn't act straight away. You have a few minutes. He poisoned her with prussic acid. That's the same component that as you can find in very, very small quantities in the apple pips. And very shortly after, Sarah is heard by the neighbors groaning and groaning like she's in pain. And the neighbors looked into the street, and he spotted that man dressed as a Quaker, and he followed the man all the way to Slough Station. And the man jumped on a train, and that neighbor, he was a reverend, he had the amazing idea to go to the station manager to use their new technology they had, the telegraph. So he sent a telegram to Paddington Station telling them, suspected murderer on board wearing a Quaker's grab. Quaker was spelled with a K, K-W-A-K-E-R, because on the telegraph machine, on the alphabet, they didn't have a Q. So apparently at Paddington Station, they had to repeat it a few times. They were like, Quaker, 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 Quaker. And so eventually they told, yes, exactly, that's the guy on the oatmeal box. They did a full serial killing packet after him. No, just kidding. But yes, same outfit. And So the Quaker is going back to the coffee house. Very smart. He went back to collect his coat, but the police officer was actually following him. So by 9 p.m. he was back in the coffee shop. So it would have been a perfect alibi if you were not aware of the speed of the trains, and because, you know, even the trains were fairly new. We are in 1845. He got arrested the next morning. I mean, the big mistake he made was also to wear his Quaker outfit everywhere. He would have been fairly, yeah, he's not actually a serial killer because he killed only one, but yeah. So yeah, interesting case, and he did get caught because of the telegram. So that was the first killer caught thanks to telecommunications. And talking about killings, well, I've got one more for you. Straight ahead, the beautiful building, that's the Landmark Hotel. It was built the same time as the station, so we're heading towards the station, Marylebone Station. That's where we'll finish the tour. And this beautiful hotel, that's also a very sad murder. I'm sorry, I've got quite a few sad stories tonight. That's much more recent. That's in 2010, sorry. There was the Saudian prince. He was the grandson of the king of Saudi Arabia. His name was Saud bin Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Saud. Should I say that again for you? Saud bin Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Saud. He was in a room upstairs, and 312, I think the room was. Saud was gay, and of course, Saudi Arabia, it's probably one of the least LGBTQ plus friendly country in the world, and he was here with his servant that was often described by quite a few as his boyfriend. His servant was named Bandar Abdulaziz. He was 32, he was an orphan from Somalia. We don't know exactly how their relationship was, if it was the murder. Yeah, I think they do have the death penalty for gay people, sadly. Or do they? Or is it just the Emirates? I think they still do in Saudi. Although it's not been used in a while, but it's still there in the text. So yeah, he had this servant that was also his lover, or that's what it seemed to be. Although there's a video here at the hotel where he's actually beating him up in the lift, and well, one night, sadly, sorry, it's a bit noisy, I'm gonna wait. Yeah, one night, sadly, the young man was found strangled on his bed in room 312. So yeah, and there was, of course, he was convicted to life sentence, Saud, but they had an agreement, so he could go back to Saudi Arabia to do his sentence there. So he's back home now, hopefully in prison, but of course that's quite hard for us to check once they're away. So yeah, beautiful building. Apart from that, let me show you the door, the sculpting. So yeah, did Kurt go to the restaurant? Oh, nice. I've not even been inside ever, but yeah. And let me show you the town hall. So, as we might have mentioned in some of my tours before, Marylebone used to be a borough. Where did we see the borough of Marylebone? Oh, when we did Little Venice? Or was that the borough of Paddington? I think it was the borough of Paddington. Paddington also used to be a borough. So in 1965, we merged together. We used to have, I think it's 78 boroughs in London. That was basically the parish district. And a lot of them were merged together. So the borough of Paddington, the borough of Marylebone, and the borough of Westminster were merged together. And this beautiful building was the Marylebone Town Hall. Now it's the Westminster Register Office. So that's a place for weddings. And we had quite a few famous weddings in there. Sir Paul McCartney married here twice. Sean Bean, the actor as well. Who else? Liam Gallagher and Antonio Banderas as well. So quite a few famous people married here. And guess what? I've got a flat for you in this interesting building here. I think it's a flat share. Oh, Liam twice as well. Oh, interesting. Let me show you. I think it's a flat share. So, yes, a double room with one flatmate. So how much would you pay for this tiny double room with one flatmate? So you're sharing the flat with two. I'll show you. See, the room is there. It's very little. So we're looking for a monthly rent for a room in a flat share. So you're sharing the flat with a stranger, just the two of you. Yeah, Finsbury was also a borough. Yeah, the Finsbury Town Hall is now an art centre, I think. Battersea as well. Battersea Art Centre was the Battersea Town Hall. 5-0, you guys are a bit. Janie, I think you're not too far. 1,800. Oh, you guys are getting really good at this. Let me show you. 1,700. So that's not too bad. Not too bad. Well, not that I would, but it's not as much as some of you stated in the chat. Personally, I think it's a lot for that tiny bedroom. Did you see the size of the bedroom? It's probably quite nice to have only one flatmate. Also, I think I prefer when there's a few flatmates, because if it's only the one, when you have an issue, there's no witnesses. You have to deal with that crazy person. When you have 4 or 5, at least you have witnesses when one of them is being silly. Because I lived with a few silly ones, but at least, I was not alone with them. So I think it's probably, unless you move in with a friend, but then it's a different story. Yeah, it's having its own bath. It's amazing to have an ensuite, but if it's tiny, Anyway, let me show you the next one. So this is a 5-bedroom flat. So you're sharing with another 4 people. And it's a tiny bedroom again. Let me show you. So it's in this beautiful building here. So how much would you pay for a tiny room in this beautiful building, sharing with another 4? So much bigger flat share. You can get in and out on both sides of the bed in your flat. Good. I can only get in on one side, but yeah. So how much would you pay? We're looking for a monthly rent. So you're sharing with another 4. And you can see the room up there. It's tiny as well. 2,000 says Paola. 1,900 says Janie. Oh, that's a bit less, you guys. I don't remember actually. Let me check. Yeah. Laurie, yes, you're closer to it. Nada, you're not too far. Yeah. Let me show you. So 960. So that's like a normal price, to be honest. That's what we find. It's pretty much what you have to spend now in central London, or all across London, really, if you want a decent room. Yeah, sadly, it's yeah. Well, you could have a room for less than that, but then there will be something wrong, like humidity or noise, or something. Yeah. It's it's at the moment. So there is the station. We'll go into the station in a moment, but for now, let's do a little detour here, because there's a few more properties and a very interesting building. So we've spoken about If you were with me in Guildford, we might have spoken about those guys actually. We spoke about the provisional IRA. So I don't want to be talking too much about terrorism today. I'm not interested into the politics, but you know, the story of the people behind it, that's quite interesting. And so in 1974, London there were bombs everywhere, you know, and in 1975 it continuated, sadly. So the provisional IRA were very, very active. They were bombing restaurants, hotel like the Park House Hotel on Park Lane, the Hilton Hotel on Park Lane, or Selfridges, and often those terrorists would target the same place twice. And that's what happened with Scott's restaurant in Mayfair, so not too far, literally 10 minutes down. They had first bombed the restaurant. There were 70 people inside. Many of them were injured, and a couple of weeks later they came back and they shoot through the window. There was a gang of 4. They are known as the Balcombe Street Gang because of this very street here. And what happened is they were spotted there by police officers because the police was well aware that sometimes they do bomb the same place again. And here at number 22B, so that's the council flat across the street, what happened here is that when the police spotted the IRA soldiers shooting through the window, they followed them, but they had to hail a cab. They jumped into a cab because the police officers were on foot, and they followed the gang until here. Then the gang got out of their car, and they forced entry into that building there, the council block I showed you, and they went upstairs to a couple, John and Sheena Matthews. They were watching TV. They didn't even hear the terrorists getting in because they were watching TV. And then the guys held them hostages for 6 days. The police was, of course, surrounding the building, and the siege lasted for so long. And eventually, they gave themselves up because the police was really smart. Well, at least we believe that's what happened. They used the radio. They knew that the terrorists had radios up there, and they were listening to the BBC. So they used the radio to spread the message that they were going to raid the building. And eventually they came out. So the Balcombe Street gang was caught. They were, of course, jailed for life. Well, they were released in 1999 as part of the Good Friday Agreement. And when they got caught, do you know what they told people? They told the police that they were responsible for the Guildford bombing as well. Some of you might remember we talked about that in Guildford the other day. And they were innocents, the Guildford 4 and the Maguire 7, that were jailed for a bombing they did not commit. And so yeah, and the police didn't do anything. They left them in prison. They knew by then they were innocent because those guys had told them that they had also committed that atrocity. So yeah, quite a sad story as well. So there were quite a few victims. Anyway, let's move on to something a bit more cheerful. I've got a flat here, and I'm actually quite glad I found this one because there's no living room. And that's very common, sadly, in London. Very often, the landlord, what they do is they close the living room to make it a larger room. So you could have a very large room and pay a bit more, but then you don't have a living room. I lived myself in quite a few accommodation with no living room in Hammersmith, in Clapham. So let me show you the room. So there we go. So it's very large because, as you can see, it used to be the living room. So you'd be sharing with another 2. And so yeah, we're looking for a monthly rent to have a very large room sharing with another two. How much would you pay? I'm not too sure which one it is because they look all the same. So how much would you pay for a monthly rent to have the former living room, basically? Janie, you know what? You're spot on. You're spot on. It's I think it's 1,474. The price is announced weekly, so I had to do the math. Let me show you the total. There we go. So 335 per week. That brings it to nearly 1,500. So you guys are getting really good at this. Yeah, welcome, Rosemary. Episas, you're not far either. Michelle, you're not far either. So yeah, and I'm just gonna turn around to show you the other side of the street. Again, it's one of these, but I'm not sure which one, because they all look the same and the windows are the same. Because when they don't give me a photo of the outside, I usually check the windows. So this one is a 2-bedroom flat, a cozy 2-bedroom flat. We're looking for a monthly rent again in that building here. Let me show you the photos. So quite nice. So 2 bedrooms for yourself, and that's the full flat. Oh, you looked in a building, a Georgian building like this? Sarah says 2K, a bit more. Janie, you guys, oh, Laurie, you know what, you got it, spot on. Let me double check, but I think that's exactly what it is. Oh, Sandrine, you're very close as well. Lethargy, you guys are getting really good at this. Right, let me show you. So there we go, oops. So 2,700. And that's a nice one. It looks quite nice inside. So really, it's not. Well, it's the prices. That's what they are these days. So yeah. Anyway, let's go. We'll head towards the station. I've got one more flat for you. Those with some of those, I'm not exactly sure which one it is, because that website I've used for those flat share, well, I'm not gonna mention them, but it's the best website for flat sharing in London. Maybe I should ask them to sponsor my videos. They don't, often the pin drop is slightly off. Well, at least I suspect that's what they do, because they don't want you to find it and knock at the door and be like, hey, can I be your flatmate? Because they want you to pay for the website. The way they charge you is that if there's a new ad that's quite exciting, you have to pay a monthly fee to be able to be the first one to contact the advisor. It's not much, it's like £10 a week or something. And whenever I was desperate to look for a flat myself, I would always pay, because it's the best website for flat shares. Because they tell you everything. You can tell them if you want a LGBT household, if you like pets, if you want to smoke, what age group do you want. So it's very precise in terms of targeting the flat share you or the flatmate you want, rather than just putting the price up there and see if it suits you. Anyway, I've got one more here. Which one is it? Yes. Oh, they've closed the curtain, so yes, it's this one. Well, I think it's this one. The little disclaimer: this one is actually a short-term rental, but it was on my way. So it's a master ensuite, and well, tell me the price per week, because you could rent it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we're looking for a price for a weekly price. Let me show you the inside. So it's an ensuite, so you'd share the living, like the terrace and the living room with the family. But how much would you pay for a week in a little ensuite here? Tariq says 600. I'll wait until we get a few more guesses. 400 says Jenny. 500 says Laurie. I think you're the closest so far, Laurie. 850 says Sarah. You're a bit too high, Sarah. Right, I'll let you guess for a little bit longer anyway, because we've got to walk all the way till the bottom of the street. 670 says Dawn. 590 says Sandrine. 750 says Rose. It's a little bit less, Yeah, the owner they are there. So you've got basically one room on your own toilet, but it's not like if you had your own flat. 700. Well, actually, guys, it's a little bit less. Let me show you the answer. There we are. 470 a week. Oh, Laurie, you're not far. 470. So that's not too bad, really. Anyway, let's head towards the station. Well, not too bad. I mean, not too bad if you compare to a hotel, you know. If you had to stay 2 weeks in London and you wanted to pay for a hotel, that'll cost you much more. So it's not, it's an option. Anyway, this is already the building of Marylebone Station. So Marylebone, by the way, I didn't even tell you, Marylebone, the borough, the district of Marylebone, it is not named after the French. It's not Marylebone. Not everything comes from French, okay? It's because of Bourne, it's an old term for river. So that was Mary by the river, probably the river Tyburn that used to be here. And I was just being quiet for a moment, so I didn't want to be in the middle of the argument. So yeah, so it's from old English. It has nothing to do with the French. And Marylebone Station, it's this beautiful building here. It's the latest one of the main London terminus. It's from 1899. So you know, most of those amazing stations like King's Cross, St Pancras, all of them. Yeah, it's not Marylebone. I know it sounds like it could be, but it's not Marylebone. Well, if it was Marylebone, it'll be a A anyway, not a E. And it's a single N. So yeah. And so yeah, this beautiful station was opened by the Great Central Railway. At the time, all the railways were separated. You know, they've been nationalized much later, but they were all different commercial enterprise. And this one, they actually ran out of money for an architect. So it's actually the engineer that designed the building itself. The hotel on the other side, so after the canopy there, the Victorian canopy, the hotel, it's the back of the Landmark Hotel. So that's where we've been earlier. And the station itself was never actually successful. It was a big plan that was not that did not go as expected. In I think it's 1922 when they opened. How are you? When they opened Wembley in 1922, the gentleman was just saying I was right, so that's good. It became a little bit busier, but it was really never as busy as expected. They even considered closing it a few times. And eventually, when the railways became nationalized, it was a bit better. But just so you know, I'm going to be semi-silent in the building itself, because I know some of you enjoy your train stations, but unfortunately, they don't really like filming in the train stations. So I think it's less likely that I get kicked out if I don't speak too much. And you've got the underground as well here, so you could take the Bakerloo line. So yeah, beautiful ironwork. It's a nice station, but it doesn't really get very busy like the other one do. Well, that's why I still have signal. Usually in train station, it's hard to have a good signal. Yeah, I don't see any security, so I think I'm good. Well, even the gentleman that told me I was right, he worked here, so he didn't tell me off, so that's good. Oh yeah, the old ticket office was quite cool. When I was talking about the yogurts from the food fights earlier, it's from that cafe, Pret à Manger. It's a great company, Pret à Manger. They give the food waste to different apps and associations, even for free, even for not only for charity, for anyone, just not to waste the food. So great company. I think it's there because that looks like the staff rooms to me, and he saw the ghost of a lady. We don't know, there's no contendant, we don't know who that lady might be really, but I'm guessing it's in there. Well, there might be some other stuff. Oh, and let me show you, there's a photo that made me smile earlier. When they opened the station, they had a big lunch to celebrate the opening. So they're all celebrating here with their little lunch, having a party to celebrate the new station. That was a bit of a fiasco financially, but yes. Right, let me come out and I'll show you my face again, because that's gonna be the end of the tour. Let me know if you have any questions for me before we go. If not, thank you very much for coming today. If you enjoyed it today, feel free to support me, buying me a coffee or a little donation on PayPal. It's always very much appreciated. That's what allows me to keep on doing some research and keep on creating new tools. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Anje. And if you want to see a bit more of me, on Thursday, on Thursday we're going back to the Dockland area. So I've got Dark Tales of the Docks on Sunday night. Nice hoodie, yes. Yeah, it's my special Monopoly hoodie. This way nobody asks what I'm doing. Well, some people do, but depending on the location, if I'm on the street, they just guess. I have had a few people telling me, oh, you're doing a giant Monopoly. Not today, but in general. Thanks, my pops. Thanks, Anita. Thanks, Rose. Cool. And if you guys were completely new to me, I hope you will subscribe for more. So I've got Dark Docks on Thursday, and nothing else scheduled for now. But keep an eye. Hit the bell if you wanna know whenever I schedule anything. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Dawn. And I don't see any more questions, so I'm gonna get going. Have a good evening, a good morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, thank you, Sam. Yes, if you did enjoy the video, do click on the like button. It does tell the algorithm that I should be checked out. Right. See you later.